What do you think will win between a flagship phone and a phone from the company that invented the cell phone? We're going to find out in this video. In one corner is the iPhone 14, which is Apple's latest phone. It was launched last year, but it's the latest phone they've made. And in this corner is Motorola's latest phone in India, the Moto Edge 40. Now this phone is going head to head with this in this video, and we'll start off with the price because of course we know that the iPhone is going to win this, right? Wrong. This phone, the iPhone 14, starts somewhere around 67,000 rupees with all the offers and everything combined, whereas this phone, the Moto Edge 40, starts at just 30,000 rupees, and it doesn't start at that or end at that because it's the only variant available. So for 30,000 rupees you can get this phone, but the problem is you can't really get it because it is not available for sale anywhere because it sells out quickly. They're doing flash sale models without calling them flash sales.
You just have to say that
but
you're
that's
fine.
the deal.
You're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
So let's talk about the displays. The Moto Edge 40 has a 6.55-inch display. It's a full HD plus display that gives you about 402 pixels per inch. It is an OLED display, but it's a plastic OLED display. And it also has 144 Hz of refresh rate. In the front, you get about 90% screen to body ratio, so you do have considerable bezels around the device. You also have a glass protection layer, which is not really mentioned by the company. And then you also have HDR 10 Plus, so you do get HDR. And you have a 1200 nits of peak brightness with about 500 nits as native brightness. So everyday use, you'll get 500 nits. But if you're watching HDR content, you can get a peak of up to 1200 nits. On the iPhone, on the other hand, you have a smaller display. So you get about 6.1 inches on the iPhone 14, but you get a much higher resolution, giving you a much larger pixel per inch ratio of about 460, which makes it really sharp as far as the display is concerned. The OLED on this screen has also been optimized really well, so you get really accurate colors, and you also have features like True Tone, which give you even more optimal color rendition on the iPhone, so it definitely wins in that aspect. This phone also has 1200 nits of brightness, which matches that of the Moto Edge, but this has a native brightness of 400, which means that the display in day-to-day use is much brighter than that on the Moto Edge 40, and is also visible from a wider angle than the Moto Edge 40. What's less in the iPhone 14 is the lack of the 144 Hz of refresh rate, which you do not get as you get completely standard 60 FPS on the iPhone 14. If we talk about the batteries, the Moto Edge 40 has a 4400 mAh battery, which is pretty impressive for the thinness and the overall size of the phone. It also supports a maximum of 68 watts of wired charging, which is unfortunate, we know it. We already fixed the issue in our review, so go check it out if you want to see how we fixed it, but we'll give you a preview right here. You also get 15 watts of wireless charging on the phone, which is great. The overall battery life on this device has also been good, but it lacks some smart battery features like battery optimization and long life battery capability. You do have things like low power mode and battery saver built in, but nothing special as far as the battery is concerned. The iPhone 14, on the other hand, has a smaller 3280 mAh battery, and the current gen iPhone 14 supports 25 watt of wired charging, which is much less than Android competitors. And it also supports 15 watt of wireless charging, which is great. So you can get wireless as well as wired charging, and it charges to about 50% in about 30 minutes of charging the device. The 15 watts of wireless charging is achieved only through the MagSafe chargers. If you're using a typical Qi wireless charger, then you can get only about 7.5 watts. Whereas the iPhone 14 does have battery optimization, and with the newer generation iPhones, you're getting really good battery health even almost 1 year after the original launch of the phone. Both of these devices have ports, good for them. Both of these devices also use USB 2.0 ports, so the iPhone continues to use the Lightning port, but it's still USB 2.0, whereas the Moto Edge 40 uses a USB-C port, but that also is only USB 2.0. For processing, Apple uses an A15 Bionic, which is an Apple-made silicon chip. It is extremely powerful and extremely responsive and highly optimized to run iOS. or in fact iOS is highly optimized to run on this chip. You'll get impressive day-to-day performance with basically no lag even 9 to 10 months into the launch of this device, and basically no crashes. It's a very smooth operating system experience, and day-to-day usage on this device is impressive. That performance also translates to gaming as well as multitasking. So if you're gaming on the iPhone, it is rated as one of the best devices to game on. Although I would not pick the smaller iPhone 14, I would highly recommend the iPhone 14 Plus if you plan on gaming on your iPhone. The Moto Edge 40 uses a MediaTek Dimensity chip. It's an 8020 chip, which also does deliver pretty impressive performance. The display on this is also great for multitasking as well as gaming, but the performance on the chip also holds true for most of its capability. But some gaming performance does struggle, and there are certain lags and slowdowns that we experienced in the past month or so that we've had this device. But more importantly, if you look at just pure synthetic benchmarks, you can see why the Apple Silicon is much more superior in just pure synthetic benchmarks. But then also the optimization of iOS that is done typically to the iPhone makes it a completely different device. While this is running a slightly stock version of Android, it's still not as optimized as the iOS operating system is on the iPhone 14. Another good thing about the iPhone is the almost 5 years of software updates that are guaranteed with any iOS device, whereas Motorola only promises 2 years of updates as well as security updates. So those are things that definitely make the iPhone a better choice if you're thinking of a long-term purchase. Another thing that is impressive about Apple is their service and support. They have one of the best service and support systems built in. You can also buy extended warranties with the Apple Care program, to the point where even if you break your screen, you have to pay minimum charges to replace the screen, but only if you do it within a stipulated time period. Whereas Motorola doesn't offer any of those extensions, and the service and support is shoddy because sometimes parts are not available and the service center is not trained on the latest devices. Finally, let's talk about the cameras. The cameras on the phones are considerably different, whereas one has a premier 50 megapixel camera. The other has a 12 megapixel camera that they've been using for generations of the iPhone. The iPhone does perform impressively in getting accurate colors on the images. In some of the examples that we have on screen for you now, you can see that the colors are highly oversaturated on the Moto Edge 40. The iPhone does manage to get better colors, better contrast, and overall better HDR. We also notice that in certain images, there is color fringing on the Moto Edge 40, especially in this image where you can see the text. And when we zoom into the text, you can see that it has a pink hue around the black text, whereas it comes out crystal clear on the iPhone. Video quality is also much more impressive on the iPhone, whereas you will see a maximum of 4K 30 FPS on the Moto Edge 40. The iPhone 14 obviously shoots up to 4K 60. You also have cinema mode, which we are shooting on right here. And then you also have other features that are built into iPhone's camera, including the portrait mode, including the crazy slow-mo, which works really well on the iPhone, which of course I don't really need to talk about much. You've already seen the samples on the screen. Overall, obviously for the extra amount of money that you're paying for this phone, you're getting a lot more for your money, especially in case of warranty, longevity, better build quality, and also better software optimizations, better features in the camera, and overall just better finish. Motorola is an impressive phone for its price. For 30,000 rupees, you're getting a lot of phone, and it also looks really smart with this new curved design. It's not really a apples to apples competition. Do you get it? Because this is Apple versus Motorola. But these are not really phones you would compare. This was more a show of how close these phones have come to an iPhone, which has been priced upwards of 60, 70, 80, now even in the lakhs of rupees. This phone is come very close to performing as well as it does, only missing out on some of the software features, basic finishing, but the hardware is more or less there, right? What's your thought on the Moto Edge 40 or the iPhone 14? Let us know in the comment section below. What would you want us to compare next? Let us know that in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, smash like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.